got an answer.
Okay. All right, we ready?
Sure.
Are we recording?
Yep, we're going live.
Do you think that changed anything?
I think I'll apologize
Does
up
it?
front to everyone.
Because you look like Aunt Jemima.
Oh, Lord. This is how I hike the pasture, folks. Okay.
All right. Hello, all you on YouTube. We're about ready to get started. Here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to South Point and fantastic Friday. We can see the end of this grind. Once again, we are at the South Point Hotel with No Spin Rodeo, right here beside the gold carpet, at the coolest place to be. And I'm here with a couple of my my rat hole buddies, Kendra Santos and Greg Teagarden. Good morning.
Good morning. Apologies up front for the wet hair. No time. Sorry.
Well, it's not going to get dried all wrapped up like that.
It's my pasture.
Why don't you let it out?
This is
why don't
my
you go?
pasture hiking
Why don't you
here.
go rocker on us? There you
There
go.
you go.
That a girl.
My Mufasa
Aha.
made it's wet.
That's
Here we
right.
go. Okay.
There you're back.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's good. Greg, you feeling better? I guess you got the NFR crud.
Yeah, I got a little bit of rest yesterday, so I feel a lot better, even though I still have a little bit of a cough.
Well, I'm so grateful. So Ode and I, every morning we drink, first thing, hot lemon water. He gets a couple sacks of lemons before the thing starts. Hot lemon water morning and night. That's what I take to the rodeo with me, hot lemon water. And then echinacea, elderberry, zinc, airborne for vitamin C. That's our cocktail. But there's a new strain of the NFR crud, and one of my really close rodeo mom friends, who's an NFR contestant's mother, she texted me during the rodeo last night. She goes, I never thought I'd miss a perf at the finals, but I had to watch it on my iPad. And she said, thank God I didn't go to the perf because I coughed and I shit my pants. So anyway, I got the giggles during the rodeo last night because I'm like, well, I'm glad, too, that you didn't come. But anyway, so.
And so are the seats at Thomas and Mack.
At any rate.
Well, and I didn't. You're going to have to. I just caught bits and pieces because Donna, my wife, was supposed to come in and we tried to go see a show. And I had booked tickets to see Toby Keith because of his sickness, and the two best openings I've ever done have been attributed to Toby Keith songs. And so I booked tickets, and then she decided to stay home with Asher and Aubrey. And so I'm like, I got an extra ticket. So I'm like, Greg, you want to go? Yeah, no. Chase, do you want to go? No. Dad, I don't want to go at all. Okay, thanks, son. So I go through the whole Piranha crew, and the one that took me up on it was kind of my rodeo sister, Jamie Brown. She's always there when I need her.
California girl.
She's a California girl, Paso. But she's been with me 20-something years, Jamie has. And we went to see Toby Keith, and he's been sick, so he went from a mountain of a man to his legs may be 5 inches. But his voice was there, and Dolby Theater was sold out, and he put on a really good 90-minute show. He weakened a little bit at the end, but so my point on this is great show. Thanks for going with me, Jamie, and I only got bits and pieces. So, but I did do some research on some stuff we talked about that I can follow up on.
Today's a great day to wing it. And on Jamie Capps Brown, I love her. Anybody who knows her loves her. And she worked with us in our early PBR days, too. And I remember Randy Bernard, because we all grew up in the same area. I used to walk to class with Randy Bernard and Troy Ellerman, who at the same time were the commissioner of the PRCA and the leader of the bull riding world in the PBR. But anyway, Randy used to say about Jamie, she's the person who, if I gave her the sack of cash, and she was stranded out in the middle of the Mexican desert. She would come back the next day and have a few extra dollars in the kitty. He used to say that about her, and it's true. But a fun fact about Jamie is John Harrison won his, as they call it, the Triple Clown this year. Mrs. Clown.
Yep.
I call her Marilyn Monroe. Does she not?
Yep.
John's wife, Carla. Okay, she is a Ginolini. She's from our country, too. She used to announce my kids' junior rodeos, and Jamie and Carla are cousins. So,
I know.
small world.
And
but anyway.
Carla came to World's Toughest. Jamie was with me at the World's Toughest. And Carla came when she was young, right, and just hadn't been caught yet and was doing PR and different stuff for us, and her personality. And
Have you ever heard her as an auctioneer?
yes, I have. She makes you want to bid.
Oh my God.
She's good.
Anyway, I call her Marilyn because if she's not a spitting image from Marilyn Monroe, I don't know who is.
She's beautiful.
So
absolutely
anyway.
beautiful.
Anyway, okay, so the reigning world champion bareback rider Jess Pope struck last night, 88.5. That big black white face horse, the Crow, is aptly named. Watching guys like Jess, like every single night, he and Cole Reiner are doing these, I don't know if it's yoga moves or whatever, in the tunnel, and like I play thread the needle through them like a drill team coming to the press room. Those guys and their stuff they do, the stretching and I don't even know if yoga is the right word, but the fitness of the bareback riders, it is really cool. Anyway, and it's kind of fun because he seems like really nice and really quiet, and yet, you know how Luke Branquini used to do the booty shake on a good run? Jess Pope does the Macarena. Like, I didn't see that coming really, so.
Well, and I wanted to answer a little follow-up because we're in rough stock right now. A little follow-up on how stock is selected. Here's specifically how it goes. The Cowboys send a list to their event rep. The event rep cuts it down to 105 animals that they recommend. That event rep takes it to a committee of 3 called the Livestock Selection Committee.
What kind of people are on that?
Get there.
Okay.
Come on.
Patience.
Hair wet here. So they have to now bring videos. So, because I've even heard the stock contractors say, I got to find videos. Well, that's easy to find now with Cowboy Channel.
Right.
They got to bring videos to this selection committee. The selection committee does have 2 gold buckles on it out of the 3 people.
Now, in each event?
No. But still 2 gold buckles.
No.
So, anyway, so there is a livestock. Now, so I tried to do a little research on why a livestock selection committee. Why not just the event reps? And when you don't get real clear answers, there had to be some politics in that back in the day. So that's where I land on that. So there's a committee. They pick.
Nothing like
they have the
leaving
right
it up
to
in the
vote.
air. But again, sorry, because, a gold buckle in
I didn't really leave it up in the air. The livestock selection committee helps people get animals into the NFR.
Okay, I get that, but you're saying that a world champion bull rider could override the Cowboys on the bucking horses? In theory?
Well, listen, if you just look at the numbers, yeah, you're right. There's 3. Technically speaking, you would need to have 1 for every, right? An independent analyst for every.
Or 3 for each.
Well, you could have.
If you wanted something, if they're reviewing the timed event cattle, but it doesn't sound like
Okay.
that.
I have one thing that is just a question from what you said is why the Cowboys who are competing here this year would not have the final say, because it's their life, it's their livelihood, it's their career, it's their money, it's their everything. So I am mystified a little bit as to what the reason. There must be a reason why you would hold the card that you could override the actual guys that are here now.
And another thing that I thought of after we talked about that is they pin. It's all about how you pin them. it's not just about who comes, but what 15 everybody draws at, really. And I've seen it this year and even made comment, one guy's eliminator is not another guy's eliminator. Okay? One guy's eliminator be one that just bucks so hard I can't sit down on him, right? And another guy's eliminator is a swooper because he can ride everything that they stick out unless he swoops and cheats. So I don't think I think there's probably a problem here, right? There's probably a better way. There's a better way, maybe, but ultimately letting the guys pick what they get on you could actually think about it like this. That would be like getting to pick who you played in the Super Bowl. This is the team I want to play.
I'm sure there's two sides to every story, and a lot of times there's five.
Yeah.
So, but I will say on that subject, having bumped into, some of the rough stock guys like at lunches and different things, I don't know. On some of this other, sort of similar lines, we've talked a little bit, we've talked quite a lot before about like the Casey Field, he's not here, the reasons, and what Sage Kimsey had to go through of showing up to turn out. It really struck me last night during the barrel race. Well, I'm just going to say it now. Cassie Mowry won the round last night. Last year, she went to 28 rodeos to get here. This year, she went to 28 rodeos to get here. Last year, she went to 26 rodeos to get here. So I guess the WPRA does not have that same minimum rodeo requirement, apparently. They do not. They don't.
I can't think of I cannot defend the minimum.
I can't either. So
I can't think. Greg, could you think of any reason that a guy shouldn't come here if he can win enough to get here?
No.
Yeah.
Penalizing some of the best evers, we haven't come up with a reason.
There isn't one. There's not one, and it's stupid.
Okay, so
in the bareback riding, interestingly enough, Keenan Hayes has still got the lead for the buckle by 55,000.
That shows how dominating his regular season was.
But that ain't, again, as we look through all of these, it's one stump of your toe with this aggregate and the rounds paying 30 grand. There's only a couple of these races that are.
Well, now's when everybody's going to start kicking in tomato aggregate average. I'm going to stick with average. But anyway,
you can call it average.
I understand.
Don't define what average means.
So I get it. You're okay. But let's just go ahead and move on to the fact that Bridger Anderson, 3-3, fastest run of the rodeo, high speed.
Hey, speed.
Fastest run of the rodeo last night. And I've mentioned it, but this is a great kid. And if you think Orrin Larson's sore, do understand that Bridger Anderson's not far behind him. And he has multiple daily appointments with people trying to get him to where he can get out of bed, including a chiropractor's table.
He doesn't look like Orrin. Orrin.
Yeah, but there's been a night or two when Bridger is struggling to get up after he throws a steer. But, he started out, I think he had a couple no times in the early going. But it shows where, the gravel pit in your belly, the guys who can, dig way on down there, and then there are some people here that got off to a slow start, a rough start, bad things happen early, and their heads, their demeanor, their heads have been down, and their body language is hurting them. And to Bridger's credit, what a great kid. And also, I'll say, it's really cool to me, having seen him as a young teenager win Oates' inaugural Oatberries Junior Steer Wrestling World Championship in 2017. Now here he is, and he won that title as a kid on this same brown horse, Whiskers, that he's riding here, and that's pretty cool.
And just I'll follow up on the steer wrestling. 0.2 of a second in the, let's call it the aggregate, we'll call it the aggregate, the average, 0.2 of a second on 8, and you've with Dakota Eldridge holding that, and Payne right on the heels, and Dalton Massey for the buckle. Good morning,
Hi,
Flint. Well, I always know when you go by, I can smell Ben Gay and right guard. There you go. All right, Dalton Massey on the hunt for the buckle with the 37,000 lead, not much.
Well, and he broke a barrier, I feel like, in the last couple of days, and that was a little bit of painful. But that guy's been super impressive, like so technically sound. The way he's doing it right, and that usually comes out in the wash. I would also love to say, last night was Canada night. The Maple Leafs fly every night, but Thursday is always Canada night. And yesterday, I head out to Oates event here, and then 1:30 to 2 every day. We do the Rodeo Deep Dive show on the Cowboy Channel live at Cowboy Christmas. Yesterday, I put together a show called Rodeo's Unsung Heroes, and Tanner Milan was one of the guests. And so I had a hazer, I had Pickup Man of the Year Josh Edwards, and I had Dusty Techness, 10-time Bullfighter of the Year. And it was the most interesting conversation. But what I learned in visiting with Tanner afterwards, so Tanner brings his 2023 Horse of the Year Eddie here this week for Dalton Massey and Stephen Culling and Tanner's hazing. Well, that's cool, but way cooler, this is typical Bulldoggers for you. I had no idea until yesterday that Tanner Milan tore a pec muscle this summer. August 10th, he goes in for surgery to repair it. Guess what? He wakes up, they take the breathing tube out, he coughs hard, and he tears the surgery out. So 1 week later, on August 17th, Tanner has to undergo the exact same surgery. So that would royally suck. But what did he do behind the story of Dalton Massey, setting a regular season earnings record? He takes his Horse of the Year Eddie. He's laid up double whammy surgery. He sends Eddie in a rig with Dalton Massey, Stephen Culling, and Ryan Schuckberg while he's out. I mean, a lot of guys might have said, well, Eddie will just take a break in the pasture or whatever. No. And so, Dalton Massey's gratitude to Tanner Milan. Also cool to me is Ryan Schuckberg that I just mentioned, because he was in the rig with those guys, with Tanner, Stephen, and Dalton. Ryan Schuckberg, he's a cousin to Zeke Thurston and Bo Cooper, who are both here. And it's cool because I was asking Ode about it on the truck last night. And so Ryan Schuckberg is the son of Tom Schuckberg. Tom has two sisters. Tom's sister Linda is Zeke's mom, married to Skeeter. And Tom's sister Patty is Bo's mom. So anyway, on Canada night, that was kind of a fun little thing to find out in the truck. But
That is cool.
The camaraderie, the Bulldoggers, they're the baddest of them all. We all know that already. In the team roping, Tyler Wade and Wesley Thorpe tied the NFR record, 3-3. They were first out. That was really, really cool. Tyler Wade is notorious for turning fast steers here, and again, Coleman Proctor. My God, what is the steers he's turned on Heisman this week's been like out of this world. I think another really notable thing that happened last night was Derek Begay and Coulter Todd are the only ones that have caught all their cattle. They were the only team that were 8 for 8 coming in to last night, and Begay throws a wild wad of stuff on that steer's head last night, and this is where the Desert Cowboy,
The Ranchy Cowboy.
he is like never say die, and he fished that mess off of that steer's head like none other. And then it was like, well, he was loose when I caught him, because he didn't exactly jelly roll him for Coulter, but Coulter, no problem.
Yeah.
This is like a Brandon Corral shot. all in a day's work on the ranch, and which is where he's been since he headed here years ago before he went home to raise his family. So those guys are so easy to cheer for, but that was high degree of difficulty at both ends, and they got it done. So
in case we were going too fast on this for you, remember Begay and Coulter, those are the only ones that have roped every steer. And so that puts them in the commanding lead to win that $80,000 average aggregate money. And they needed to catch, right? They needed, and I don't know, you tell me, but I don't know hardly anybody that would have fished that mess around and got that on and then finished for a qualified run.
Okay.
It was incredible. To me, it was the highlight. I mean, 3-3, wow. But that kind of stuff is what's
It was awesome. And Speed Williams just walked by, and he would be someone who could put on a little crash course and that sort of thing, because he had to do that stuff how many times here after they would go out in the first round, foolish pride is out the window. And I love it when guys are not too proud to just do whatever it takes. And I think J.D. Struxness is a superstar, but a few nights ago when a steer hung a leg and he got up and without making sure, there's a lot of buzz amongst the Bulldoggers that probably very likely chance cost him a gold buckle. And in hindsight, my guess is he would be sick that he did not, finish the course, because he was way up there in the average. And anyway, so in the bronc riding, we had three. We had Brody Kress, Sage Newman, and Zeke Thurston. And if I remember right, Sage jumped on the back of Zeke's horse.
Yeah.
And we had a little bucking horse ride in the grand entry.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of a little crow hop fest for the victory lap. I will say this, Leighton Green, I know, having run into him the other day, I don't know him very well, but he seems like a great kid. The Justin Sports Med report, because he did get on a re-ride last night, because his first horse, South Point Gambler, hung a hind leg on the back of the buck and shoot and fell flat and hard.
I saw that. That was a horse that it looked
Flat.
to me like the horse sunfished, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was walking by a screen and saw that, and I'm like, that horse just sunfished down to the ground.
It was really pretty scary, and he hung a hind leg. It's just one of those freak things in the gate, and so that was I was really worried because Leighton, laid there. I was really worried because it's like he used his free arm to kind of break the fall, and I was really worried about his shoulder. But Justin Sports Med says thoracic contusion and strain, and that he's going to keep going. So thoracic means lower back, I believe, as opposed to cervical, up high in your vertebrae, in your neck.
I'm listening and
rude.
I know.
Multitasking. No, I'm just joking. So anyway, pretty cool. Okay, so Brody had Corian Lang's Monster. Sage had Devil's Advocate of Three Hills, and Zeke Frontier's Yellowstone. So again, on Canada night, here comes Zeke. Zeke is number one in the average and the world, and
he's number one in the average by 2 points
over
Brody Kress.
Wow! So that was a big victory lap last night.
That was a big victory lap. 2 points. Think about it. 2 points.
Yep.
And Zeke and Newman are battling out for the buckle with $375 currently separated.
Isn't that awesome, actually? And I know that Stetson Wright has not lost hope for his Triple Crown with a twist, that Brother Ryder would win the bronc riding, and Kai Hamilton.
The hope is getting
I know,
further
but
away.
a guy can hope. And to watch Stetson ride, I now, when Ryder Wright and Kai Hamilton ride, I watch the guy on the back of the chutes now instead of closer than the ride. If they go out of what I can see, I keep my eyes on Stetson because he jumps up and down like a little kid. Like it's pretty sweet. Anyway, let's go on to the calf roping. On Canadian night, we had some shuffles.
Well, let me say, these are the big, heavy. These are the same calves they ran. I think, what rounds? Like 2 and 5 or something. I can't remember for sure. But these are, I don't know how to, they're just big, heavy, soggy. You know, you don't, these are really tough calves to hit the 6s in.
Okay. And on the flip side, higher degree of difficulty, and I applaud that there would be some higher degree of difficulty, that as long as they're not sorry, as long as they don't kick, but as long as they're, you know, a little heavier and a little soggier, I think right on. Let's test the variety of skills that we have here at this level. Hunter Heron won the round. He was 7-4, but on Canada night, there was a little horse shuffling. Logan Bird from Canada, he has this little buckskin horse they call Peso. And this Peso...
That's Hanchy's horse, right?
No, it's Logan Bird's from Canada.
Hanchy's been riding.
So Hanchy, this has been a go-to for Hanchy. So Hanchy's horse of the year, Bugsy, is hurt. I think strain suspensory.
Correct. Because remember I brought it up and you said, no, I think he's just making a change.
Well, I said, you know, just trying to do something different, whatever. And then like a couple days later, then he kind of finally came forward and said, you know, there's an issue here, you know, so, but Peso from up in Canada, you will always see him at the Calgary Stampede, and this is his perfect. So he's been helping Hanchy and Ty Harris the last couple days. Last night, Ty Harris got back on his yellow horse, and Bo Cooper from Canada, who travels with Hanchy and Bo both rode Peso last night. That's a cool little horse, and in these conditions, hard to beat. So, like Caleb Schmidt didn't place last night, but what he did with a hard-running black calf that was no good was he didn't panic, and that sort of thing, that always comes back around when we start talking about the average or the whatever we're calling the aggregate average, whatever.
The average, we'll call it the average.
Again, Shad Mayfield was fast. He was 7-2. He would have won the round, but his calf got up a couple nights in a row.
You know what his emoji?
And he took 2 reps, by the way.
Have you seen his emoji on his Facebook?
No.
It's the emoji with the zipper across the mouth saying, please help me. Well, he must, if you've been noticing, his ties have seen a little off. His wraps.
Well, when he took 2 wraps last night, the only explanation is that the legs were stacked and he didn't have a good cross. Otherwise, the calf stays tied. But when, you know, those guys have an internal clock, and when Shad Mayfield knows, he went last, when he knows, I can put 2 wraps after last night, my 6-1, you know, gets up with 1 wrap. I'm gonna put 2 wraps on this calf. I can still win the round. And then the calf gets up. Yeah. You know, but before he gets back to his horse, it's like, oh, Lord. Anyway.
And Haven's got the average right now with, he's got a 3.2 second advantage on 8, which is that's a pretty good amount of time, with Riley right behind him, Riley Webb.
And Riley is also, like Caleb, Riley is showing, you know, he's only 20, but he's a veteran because he's been on big stages for a long time, and this is his second NFR. He's showing so much maturity. He was first out last night, 8 flat. Like, he's remaining very cool.
He's got a $61,000 lead for the buckle, the big buckle. But again, let me remind all of you, especially if you're just kind of new to catching up, it just takes one bad run with $80,000 paid to the guy with the best on all of them and $30,000 around. So Riley needs to continue, as we know, to keep that professional, calm approach. Ride to win, but don't lose your cookies while you're doing it.
Right. And And Haven is on full court press mode. And today on Rodeo Deep Dive, it's going to be a fun one. It's the rodeo power couples. And I look like a genius now that I booked this a month ago. But I have Shelby and Haven. You know, Shelby just won her first gold buckle. Haven just sets a new, NFR record in 6'4". And then I also have Brittany Posey Tanazi and her NFR team rep, her husband Garrett Tanazi, on today's show. And I've barely had time to look at social media, but Brittany Posey Tanazi, did she perhaps clinch the gold buckle last night?
It looks like it to me.
I think it
looks like there's no way out.
She was back on Benny last night.
She's got it.
It's looking awfully good.
Yeah, she's got it locked up.
So, anyway.
So you talked about power couples. I don't think I'm going to go there. There's been some historical power couples that haven't worked. That's all. So if you know it, you know
Fair.
it. Here we go.
Fair. So, okay, let's see. What else? So to the barrel race. I already said what I said about Cassie Mowry. I think she's a renowned horse trainer and amazing jockey and
I like the little
trainer.
I like the banter. I love the best dressed because, and I know it's not has anything to do with the competition, but I sure like seeing what these ladies are wearing and how beautiful, for real beautiful group from top to bottom with all different ages in there and I was looking at some of those horses. They're just gorgeous. It's just, not only is it fast and fierce, but boy, they look beautiful. And, Tanazi has the average with 108.98 on 8, and Mowry's right behind with 109.55, right? So it's like anything, right? A barrel, a slip, up in angles. Again, I don't mean slip on the ground. So here's the other thing: 10 of them in the 13s.
Well, yes, and I was going to mention Sissy Wynn went fourth to last and was 13:45. So,
Sissy,
major
fantasy,
kudos. I would
girl.
on the dressed thing. Do you have any idea who judges that? Because I have a feeling that if I judged it, it might not be the same as how you judged it or whatever.
They'd have to have wet hair.
Yeah. I'm looking for the girl who's out cleaning stalls at 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
She's my hero.
She's your hero.
Anyway,
great barrel racing. It's been a great barrel racing. It's going to be fun to watch. I do think Brittany has it locked up, but she had a commanding lead coming in. She would have had to work to mess that up.
Well, and stranger things have happened because you can get here and for whatever reason, a horse or two go down, or they're just not having their week, or you start hitting a bunch of barrels or whatever. So, major kudos to her. She's held it together like the professional that she is.
Yes,
and so the bull riding last night. Let's just say, so there were some cool things that happened in the bull riding last night. So Tristan Hutchins, Pete Carr's Pegasus. Pete Carr's loaded with high end.
Pete has got as good a set of everything. He does. He puts money in it. He cares about it. I asked him over at the trade show when I was on one of the shows with him. I said, "What do you still love rodeo?" And he said, "Absolutely. I love it." He said, "How can you not? Now rodeo's my family." But that bull, had he kind of slowed down, got into the fence on the end. Had he the way Tristan had his seat on him, had it been a full 8 seconds of what the first 6 seconds was, I guarantee it'd have been 92 or 93.
Well, and I made my day sheet has chicken scratch all over it, but a huge notation also, Sage Kimsey, the second level effort that he put out. I mean, he was only 1 point behind at 88 points. It was off the charts, the effort it was like, for most people, you think, okay, game over, he's bucked off. No.
Yep.
he put a foot down in there and
that's
said no.
And he knows this because you've mentioned how these guys know the game. So Kai Hamilton shows, kind of the first Krypton moment, and he, for the average, Kai's got 514 points on 6 ridden. Sage and Kai was 2 bulls ahead of everybody. Sage, right? 2 rides ahead. Now he's down to 1 qualified ride. Sage getting it. He's at 437 on 5. So again, Kai's to take this home, he's got to ride his bulls, and that's not easy to say with the sets coming.
And with a broken rib and a bruised lung and all the things. But like JB Mooney said, you have 2 lungs for a reason.
Yeah. Well, but Kai's got a $200,000 lead for the big buckle, and it would have to completely crumble. He'd have to not ride, lots of things have got to work exactly right for him to not.
It's leaning in his direction. And yesterday before, Tandy Freeman is a dear friend. We sometimes go to Santa Barbara, his wife Maureen and I, and they rent a little casita right by the Mission, and we're like drink coffee in the morning in your pajamas friends. And he, for decades now, he comes to the press room and gets his coffee before the rodeo, and he did it yesterday. And so we had a minute for him to tell me like his side of the Kai, and he was, of course, front and center in it. And, there was all this controversy about, the concussion, and there were some people, there was some pucker in the Justin Sports Medicine room of people. They were worried about taking a beating if Kai got hurt worse, that he went ahead. Well, okay, for one, Kai was released about 7:30 in the morning after he got KO'd. And the doctors there, gave him, they tested some different things and felt comfortable to release him. And then he went straight to the Thomas and Mack and met with Tandy for, the talk. And as far as extensive tests, this has evolved over time where, someone in charge with sports medicine can actually say, you are not going to ride.
Concussion protocol.
Okay, this has evolved to where, the words that came out in that trauma center in the room when it was Kai, Stetson, JB Mooney, Dusty Tuckness, and Kai's college rodeo coach, CJ Aragon, were, we are independent contractors. And ultimately, whether you ride with a helmet or not, whether or not you get on, is ultimately the Cowboys' call. And but it is that has changed. It came out of the conversation.
It shouldn't be.
Well, but it has because
the fierce fight in these guys to win could override. If it's a situation where you have a brain issue, that if you get hit in the head again, your world could be over. Sometimes that's why they have concussion protocols in other sports.
I totally understood. And my bird's eye view of the conversation here is that, the doctors, before they released him, they felt comfortable. And then Tandy could have given him, extensive further tests once he got out to the arena. But the conversation went, I can give you all these tests, and whether you pass or fail, ultimately now it is going to be your call. And Kai said, thanks, mate. I'm getting on. So,
and I was just wondering, but I think Tandy, from what I understand, and I kind of got this from you and a couple other people, the hospital didn't stress the concussion as a major part. He got knocked out, and it may even have been listed as a mild grade concussion. And the only thing that I want to make sure that the fans out there know is Tandy. What makes Tandy unique is he's been doing this a long time. These guys trust him, And I've seen Tandy at times go, no, he's just a cowboy. He's going to do it. I've also seen Tandy at times look pretty fierce
Play Papa Bear.
in their eye
Yeah.
and go,
No.
no.
Yeah.
And I trust him. They trust him. The rodeo world, there's a reason he's here.
There's a reason he's here. He's a godsend. And for him to know exactly what it is, he knows the exact injury. He's a, first-class orthopedic surgeon. But he also knows what it is they're going to try to take this injury to the arena to try and do. So his evaluation is priceless. And in this case, and also I think it would be helpful, there were a few people who tried to get mad about, the head injury situation. Here's how Tandy explained it to me to explain it to other people with the concussion. Yes, he did have a concussion. It appeared no lingering damage, but how you can get a concussion from blunt force trauma to the chest is you don't have to have head trauma to get a concussion. In this case, how you get a concussion is the force is so strong that your brain is jolted so hard that it hits the inside of your skull at heavy, high impact. That's how you get a concussion. And you can get a concussion if you're in a bad car wreck and you
Never
get
touch
your
your head.
airbag in the chest, and it can knock you out for the same reason, because you're whiplash so hard that your brain hits hits the side of your skull on the inside, and that can cause a concussion, and that appears to be the case here. And also, like you said, this seems to be on the lower end of the spectrum. If Tandy Freeman thought that he had such a concussion that he was like risking, his life or his future, ability to think straight, he would have been a much heavier handed about this.
And Tandy's seen a million. I'm
Yes.
sure Tandy, in 5 minutes of talking to him, has his own personal opinion of how bad this was. He's seen it all. So don't shut up out there. They are keeping them safe. These guys, I do say you have to be careful, because I don't want these guys' will to win to override rational self-preservation. We have to keep
And
that
their
in our mind.
long-term, their life.
Their life.
You don't want them to be, we just lost Walt Garrison, and he, from concussions on the football field, suffered from Alzheimer's and dementia before he died. And that was sad to see. Again, from concussions, not from rodeo in this double whammy Cowboys life, but from the football field. So it does happen. We do have to be careful, because we know more now than ever about
Correct.
concussions and the
It's
long-term
real.
implications. It's very serious. Yeah.
Well, that's a good wrap on the rodeo. I want to cover a little shop talk for the last 10 minutes with Greg and you. I'm going to read what I thought was a really cool. I'm not a big Facebook person, but I flipped through it. And I thought that this young lady, I think it's a young lady, I don't even know. I don't know how you know anymore, but here's what she wrote, and I want to get you and Greg's comments on this because I think it's pretty cool. The post was, I love weekender cowboys and buckle bunnies. I love flannel shirts paired with Toby Keith hats that you can buy at the gas station. I love seeing people fall in love with a sport in real time because I don't remember the moment it happened to me. I love how loud they get yelling the name for someone that maybe they're seeing for the first time. The NFR brings a brand of new crowd, a crowd full of strangers, alumni, people whose dreams have changed, people who have never been to a rodeo before, and people who have entered it since they were 5 years old. I love how the sport can bring together that kind of group of people. I'm in awe. People invest their hard-earned money to attend an event that they know nothing about. They pay to be in space where they could be misunderstood, misinterpreted, and probably judged. They do it for the same reason all of us old goats do, for the love of the sport, the tradition. And I love this, the sport that the national anthem is always accompanied by a prayer.
Go ahead.
At one point, this sport changed your life out there, all of you. It can be explained that other than an act of God, it just happened to you long ago that you can't imagine life without out it. It's a privilege to love this sport. And I like that. It's a privilege to love this sport. My point is, these new fans, they need to taste the secret sauce. And Greg, I brought you into this out of Florida and Boston. There was a time you probably felt like an outsider. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Like uncomfortable.
Yes, it was. I had been to rodeos before, but now being inside of it, it's got
different.
me. It's definitely different. And one of the things I enjoy seeing is when we would go to put on a rodeo somewhere where rodeo was not a mainstream, item. So it would be like in the Northeast, somewhere where, you don't see a lot of rodeos, and just to see the fans and the amount, how they get into it and they enjoy the show. It just...
I totally agree, and the diversity is nothing but good for our sport, because our mainstream universe is diverse, and we want to be inclusive and not exclusive. I will say, just for fun, when you saw the term OG on that well-written piece, you said old goats, when in fact, my man, it stands for original gangster. But anyway, no problem.
I'm glad you
I
told
had to
me
Google
that.
it myself, but I
I'm
knew
very
it wasn't
glad
old
you
goat.
told me that. But that's the way I read it. But OG, so the
original gangster.
I'm an
But I want to say
gangster. I remember
something
that.
about the Buckle Bunny thing or whatever, or the diversity, because I've never seen more diversity in a rodeo crowd than we did the Wednesday morning when we had round 6, and they opened it up to the students of UNLV and also first responders. And sitting right in front of us was a man with a heavy New York accent who clearly had never been to a rodeo before, and that's a wonderful thing. I also have to circle back to our winner last night, Tristan Hutchins, in the bull riding. He travels with our round 2 grand entry pirate Hayes Waite. And that this morning I finally got around to taking 2 minutes to put up the video of Stetson Wright explaining the pirate thing, which incidentally he was fined $250 for being not in Western attire. But it's you think
does
there's
the locker
only
room pay that?
You think there's hazing and only in the bulldogging, but there's hazing in the bull riding here. If you're a first timer, you buck off your first bull, and then you have to draw to this list of punishments. And Hayes draws grand entry pirate, and I mean, it's huge kudos to him for handling it and stepping into the role. He even had a hook on his hand. He was cool. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, a flopping parrot on his shoulder that never let go.
That was awesome.
That's great. And now he gets a $200 fine. Congratulations.
To me, that's like when Cody Ohl used to throw his piggin string into the crowd after he won the round, which he did 52 times here. And he got fined all the time. And when he was in the hospital and I gave his Hall of Fame speech, I could not help myself but to say we should have thanked him instead of fined him for throwing that piggin string in the crowd. And at one time, I actually encouraged the PRCA to have 10 piggin strings sitting there. Like, here's 10 brand new piggin strings, so these guys don't have to use the one they were just 6'5" with. And because that's the greatest thing that you could do in the crowd. And another thing about, I know that I'm random all over the place, but Haven Medjid, when he was 6'4" here, what did I see? I saw the 2 guys that were 6'5" with the record were Cody Ohl and Trevor Brazil. Trevor Brazil was in the house, and he stood up and had his own standing ovation, and his words were, records were made to be broken. And I thought, you know what? That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, before we jump out, it's time to run. But, Greg, what do we got for feedback? We always want to take care of those people we encourage all of you to shoot us some feedback. We'll see if we can answer it. We'll dig into it. We'll try to find the answers for you. So be sure and give us feedback. Greg, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I have something from the 805. They're asking if the flagman is usually the same person for both steer wrestling and team roping.
No.
But it is the same flagger the entire time for that discipline. It is,
Each event has their guy.
but stays. But he stays. It's the same guy.
It's the same
the whole
guy
time.
every run,
It's different
all
for
rounds.
each
But they're
discipline.
different in each event.
And also, in case you didn't know that,
Aggregate, average, discipline, event. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, the event is the NFR, but we'll get there. I have to write ground rules. And it's hard to say, this is the event, and then your reference event with a capital E legally is the primary thing. You got to break it down into something else, so I use disciplines. Anyway.
Because you're a production guy.
The judges then, though, I guess there's a map in their judges' room on the wall for how they rotate in the rough stock. So, and I guess they're all standing there in front of it going, so I go down there, over here. So, Yeah. Anyway, any other feedback?
Yeah, we had some feedback. There was someone that was very thankful that we spoke out and brought Cody Lee to light. They have a child that has autism, and they just wanted to say thanks for shining a light on him. The love our son receives in the rodeo world is beautiful to see, and it's beautiful to see Cody celebrated.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool. The autism, the child referenced here, goes to the rodeos, helps, and for him to get highlighted. This was the anthem singer that I said made the hair on the back of my ears stand up. It was incredible.
Yeah, he sang during the memorial round
with
for
no
the memorial.
rehearsal.
Yep.
Legally blind, so that's cool.
It's awesome. And, the other day at the Cowgirl Hall of Fame, one of the inductees is someone who uses for everything from autism to PTSD horses, and it's somewhat related in that cowboys, to see the Cowboys with the Golden Circle of Champions, kids fighting pediatric cancer, or to see Cowboys we have Cowboys who have kids on the spectrum of autism, and everyone goes out of their way to spend extra time with those kids, and it just shows the heart in our rodeo family and in our sport, and also the therapeutic. This woman who horses. We all know it. Horses, the therapeutic value of a horse, and the difference that she has made with soldiers who've come back with PTSD. That she took on head on and it goes back to our concussion conversation. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of suicide that comes from people who return from war or people who have too many concussions. And she has used horse therapy, related to our sport, because how big of a deal horses are in our sport, to prevent and lower the suicide rate amongst American soldiers who return from war. That's cool. It's really cool.
Well, Greg, I think we should drop that as a point of view in 2024, because I've got stories about openings where we've had servicemen and service animals, and I wasn't going to let them bring their service animal in, and I personally experienced some stuff. So I think that could be a whole point of view, doing a little digging on what is the effect of animals, not only on those that are healthy, right? The relationship between pockets, right? It's there. Like, it's real. They look in each other's eyes. And so we'll talk about that in the future. But running out of time, any final thoughts?
Hey, we love your feedback. 817-668-2395. You can text us there or email us at nospinfeedback@gmail.com.
My hair's almost dry.
Let's see.
My Mufasa mane.
How's the conditioner going? Okay.
Surely you jest.
Episode 16 is in the books. Thank you for joining us here at South Point. We've got one more of these, and then we'll let you know when we come back. But thank you for do us a favor, download, subscribe, listen, subscribe, get those reminders. It's No Spin Rodeo. This is Ken DeSantos, Greg Teagarden. I'm the Lucia that never wins any awards. We'll see you next time on No Spin Rodeo.
Thanks. And here's Oak calling like clockwork.
Let him.
Hey, Oak. Yep, we just wrapped 5 seconds ago. Where do you want me to go?
Stop the record, Greg.
Mm-hmm.